live now?
Yes, sir.
There we go. Just waiting notification. Perfect. Boom. And we are live. I want to thank everyone for tuning into a very special edition of Off the Record on the People's Podcast this evening. We have two magnificent guests with us tonight who are going to give us some incredible information as well as inspiration. And that is none other than Brother Enoch and Brother Amzi out of Chicago, Illinois. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam.
Sirs. Yes, sir. And first of all, I want to thank you both for taking time out of your busy schedule to come having a great conversation with us on the People's Podcast tonight. The first question that we have, we'll start with Brother Enoch, is what made you reach out to me, sir, to address such a powerful topic?
Well, first of all, let me say thank you for the invitation again to be on your show and on your platform. And I want to start off by saying, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, that's the main reason why I reached out to you. Because when you have a brotherhood and when you have a mission and a purpose, and you are blessed to know people who are of the same minds, it's a blessing to have that and to have that connection and to be devoid of the envy and the jealousy and those type of sicknesses and those type of conditions of the heart that prevent us from synergizing the best of what we have. And when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired of experiencing us lose valuable opportunities and having the ability to make an impact because of envy and jealousy, it's a blessing to be able to say, hey, let me communicate with my brother. I hope that this goes viral. I hope that once he put it on YouTube, he get 10 billion views. You know, you always got people who don't love themselves and don't like themselves, so they're gonna hate on whatever you do. But hey, that's the path of the Messiah. That's the path of Jesus. That's the path of anybody that's ever done anything of value. So those who look at this and they may see the title of it, they may see me and Brother Amzi on here and say, oh, I can't watch that. Well, don't watch it. Everybody don't eat Burger King. Everybody don't eat bean burgers.
Yes, sir.
So get in where you fit in, you know, but that's the reason why though, brothers, because I know that we weren't blessed to live the experiences that we lived and seeing the things that we've been through, and we didn't go through that for nothing. So that's the short answer.
Okay, great. Yes, sir. Well, thank you for taking time to deal with such a powerful topic. I want to start with you, Brother Amzi.
Yes, sir.
For everyone who's watching, you can go watch part one of me and Brother Enoch as well as Brother Amzi's interviews on YouTube. What was it about the task force that was so powerful that drew so many young men, you know, to the nation?
Again, as Brother Enoch did, in the name of Allah, who came in a person of Master Farrakhan Muhammad, in the name of his Christ, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and his Messiah and warning among us, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. For me, at 50 years old now, and I started processing in the nation when I was 17. I was a senior in high school here in Chicago. I recited April 8th, 1991 to Minister Ishmael on a Monday night. And for me, what captivated my attention and spirit and drew me, what held me in the mosque was the spirit of the brotherhood that we had, the training that we had. So here it is, we have brothers from 14 years old up to, I think the oldest at the time was 26 or 27.
Yes, sir.
We were young men, teenagers, some of us still in high school. Here it is, we were, as we say in the nation, moving and shaking. We were intimately involved in our communities. We were training Mondays before FOI class. We was training on Wednesdays before the mosque meeting, training on Fridays before the mosque meeting, coming up on Saturdays, being out in our communities, knocking on doors. Sunday mornings before the mosque meetings, we were training. Our training wasn't just military drill. Our training was how to talk to our people, how to soldier, how to sell the final call. We were trained in language. We had to read the dictionary. We had to study the Bible, the Quran. We had to study the lessons. We trained in military tactics. Manhood training. Some of us started getting married. So we studied all aspects of that. We studied warfare as teenagers, as young men. And that's what held me to there. We were doing something. We studied intimately the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And it wasn't just the teachers weren't just theory, so to speak. We had to put this into practice. This became real. We were taught and trained that we were Farrakhan's task force. We were taught and trained that we were his students and his followers. So it moved beyond faith. It moved beyond practice. It moved. This was and is life for us. So all the training that I got in the task force and after, it's that same training that makes me successful today at 20 with working with young people in our communities, with counseling families in our communities. It's the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the practice and training that I learned and we learned in the task force that makes me a giant in our community. It's not me, it's the teachings, it's the training that we received, and I will humbly say and will prove it. I have not seen that training since in Chicago, except for those who are around the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. That training has never been duplicated.
What about Tuesdays and Thursdays, Brother Amzi? I see
Yeah,
you,
Tuesdays and brother, I'm glad Brother Marvin is on, because Brother Marvin Marv, you're on mute. And Tuesdays and Thursdays, that was for the officers in the task force, and then it opened up to everybody. We had leadership training. Thursdays we was up there playing basketball, sharing brothers.
We lived at the mosque.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So it was 7 days a week, and that saved my life. It saved a lot of our lives. And again, it was that training that makes us successful in everything we're doing today.
Hey, Brother Amzi, when Marvin just said we live at the mosque, people don't get it twisted. We're not talking theory. We actually slept at the mosque.
Yes, sir.
In the basement, sleeping in the boiler room. There used to be a shower in the sister's bathroom. So we would take showers in the sister's bathroom. It was still, set up for showers. So we literally slept there, stayed there. Some of us may have got kicked out the house. So where to go? So instead of going to a homeless shelter or sleeping on the park bench, we slept in the MUI, slept in the mosque in the basement. So that's very real. We slept there.
Yes, sir.
Praise be to Allah. Excellent testimony from all three of you all. Something like Bro Marvin.
Hey, Josh, how you doing, man?
Excellent, sir. We look forward to your part 2 interview as well, sir. What was it about the task force that was so powerful to you, that drew you in or kept you in at the time in the early 90s?
Okay. When I first came out to hear the teachings, I think we talked about before I was 12 years old. And I started my processing, but everybody in the processing class, like Brother Thaddeus and Brother Ronald, they all thought I was older. So I did all my paperwork. It came back, they said that, you're too young. You need your parents' permission or whatever. And then my mom and dad was like, oh, I don't know about that. But eventually they went on ahead and signed. So Brother Thaddeus came and said, brother, you're too young, but you can still come out and listen or whatever, something to that effect. So I said, oh, okay, well, man, I want to be in though, So, well, I'm just in. I'm in, and then Brother Akeem came to me one day. He said, I was at MUI by the payphones. He was recruiting all the young brothers who him and Aaron saw had potential to be young soldiers and just had that young spirit. He was like, hey, look, we starting a youth unit, and look, you gonna be in. I'm like, well, I'm trying to explain, well, don't worry about that. You're gonna be in, right? So, all right, cool. So next thing you know, I started coming out to the meetings, and I'm like, literally now 12 going on 13. And next thing you know, I'm traveling. I don't know if Amzi hit this. We traveling all over the country in rental cars.
Yes, sir.
I forgot who it was that was old enough to rent the car, but whoever it was, we traveled on the Stop the Killing tour all over. Just the brothers, the young brothers. We'll meet up at the mosque the day before we leave out. That night, that morning, we say prayer and we hit the road, and we would know when we're coming back.
This
Yes, sir.
1989, Marvin? This 1989?
1989, 90.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Because I don't know if you all remember when Sister Celestina's son, Brother Aaron, got shot the day we were leaving.
Now that had to be 1990 because I came in April 8th of 1991. So that was 19.
Okay, 1990. We were at the mosque about to go on a Stop the Killing tour. And Aaron and another brother named Otis wanted to go get some stamps, some mailing stamps, because we were going to be gone a long time. We were going to write, our family letters and stuff like that. So they went to the gas station across the street. And all I know is, now again, I'm a shorty. I'm like 12, 13, And Brother Aaron came back, and Otis was almost carrying him. And all I heard was just Allahu Akbar, and all I saw was blood. And Aaron had got shot in the hip, and basically he had a Moon and Star jacket, and the guys up there thought he was in this game. They say, "Hey, are you this? Are you that?" He was like, "No, I'm a Muslim," and they started fighting Brother Aaron and Brother Otis, so they were outnumbered. But Otis and Aaron just went back to back, man, just fought as long as they could, and they was getting the best of them. When I was told, to the point where somebody had to pull out a pistol and shoot them, and so. We said a prayer, and then we got ready to hit the road. But of course, Aaron couldn't roll with us, which was the plan. So that kind of like put us on the road. Like, damn, Aaron got shot. They called the brothers, and then, after a certain point, by the time all the brothers got there, we were told everybody can go home. Don't even worry about it. So as a young soldier, I'm like, damn, that's powerful, And the movie Malcolm X hadn't even came out yet.
Right. Well, a whole another year.
So while we on tour, we going to these major cities, and the minister's speaking before 60, 50,000 people. And I remember one city we were in, it was several cities we were in, but in New Orleans, he said, where are the young brothers at? Where's the task force? And they came and got us, and they said, Brother Minister, want y'all on stage. And I'm like, damn, we're going to be on stage in front of all these people? And so we get up there, and he went down the line. We stand there. We were soldiers, man. We were cracked soldiers. Attention. We had the best salutes you could see in the mosque, where your hands still be vibrating, And we up there, and he asked everybody's name. And I was the youngest brother, so most of the brothers were going to high school, going to college. I was just getting in high school. So when he got to me, I said, how old are you, brother? It went from like 17, 18, 16, now. Brother saying 13. So the crowd was like, oh my God, And we just traveled from there to another city, to another city, to another city. And, we survived off of the money we raised. We had dues we paid. I don't know if you remember that, brothers.
Yes, sir. Task force dues. Yes, sir.
We had task force dues we paid. We sold papers. We also, every mosque in the U.S.
As a squad.
We were just a squad. We was out selling the mosques. So, it was something that I was like, man, this is just really powerful. So it made you enjoy soldiering and going out there with the paper.
Yes, sir.
And as Amzi said, I haven't seen that duplicated since then. And this is no shade to anyone. But I just haven't seen it duplicated. It's just that love and that enthusiasm spirit that you just wanted to get the paper, get your bundle, and we're gonna have a righteous competition. Who can sell this bundle the fastest?
Yes, sir.
Right. Get out there, pop. How many you sell? 200. How many you sell? I sold 3 bundles. Whatever. We go back to the mosque. we chopping that money up like we in the Carter building.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we got the mumps. See,
Yeah, we had the money, right.
Yes, sir.
It was literally so much money in our pocket, we had to start putting it in our inside pocket.
Mm.
And then, and I mean, all over. It wasn't enough room in your sock. It was just wasn't enough pockets. So after that, you know, the minister, every chance he got, he would always stand us up and comment on how great of a squad we are, and how he wanted the youth to emulate that. And we sat front rostrum every meeting.
Yes, sir.
Every meeting. Wasn't any getting up. You know, we set the standard for a lot of what I see trying to be duplicated today. When we got on post at the front rostrum, when I say front rostrum, I mean those 4 seats at the front, it was already understood. You're not getting relief. So if that's going to be your post and that's what you're going to do Sunday, don't even worry about relief or water. So you better get your mind right.
Mm.
Yep. Yes, sir. Yep. We not only front rostrum, Marv. We all the ministers that spoke. We ran the mosque. There were times
we started our security training. We started our security training on the local ministers.
Yes, sir.
So we had Brother Abdullah, Brother Wali, may Allah be pleased with them both. And
Minister
Sister Ava. Wow, may Allah please with all of them.
Yes, sir.
So I remember this is probably 89, 90. We had to go on a detail with Sister Ava. And it was Akeem, Amir, myself, and that might have been it. And James and Raheem. You remember James and Raheem?
Yes, sir. I remember them. Yes, sir.
And so we downtown at the Sheraton or the Hyatt, one of them hotels, and we were told to be the tail car behind Ava. And brother had a little hoopty, you know. And so they thought that Amir was going to run the light. He didn't run the light, so he slammed and hit the brakes. We went right into the back of Ava's car. Bam!
Oh, damn.
Everybody was like, boy, Darren's going to kill y'all there. I mean, he was cool. I mean, he wasn't really tripping. Back then, I didn't know about insurance and all that. I just was like, man, we done tore up our car. She got to get on the bus now, you know?
Yeah.
But so the training was done so perfectly that because Akeem always said, you never know when you're going to have to hold post on the minister. Mm-hmm. And you're going to have to do it one day. Now, some may have believed we were, and some didn't. Because at the time, you know, he had his own detail at that time. But it was a lot of times where he would come to the property alone. And I remember one particular time he came to the property alone, and I had the whole point. And it just happened naturally because he got out the car. Haroon and Rashad was with him. So of course there was no one in the back of the Diamond. He had some billionaires with him, and he wanted to show them MUI. So I just started leading the way. And before you know it, I'm just, you know, checking side to side, making sure my principal didn't leave me. And I'm just, you know, before you know it, we went through the whole school, inside, outside, every single classroom. I'm leading in, stepping out, making sure they're ready to come out, the whole 9 yards, because I did it with Brother Wali, Sister Ava, and Brother Abdullah a lot, to the point where it was just, you know, second nature. And then once your pops came in office, I was doing it with him often. Mm-hmm. So it was just a unit. When they needed something done, he just called a task. It was just literally, that's how it rang. Man, we got to get this done. We need this taken care of. Call the task. Do it.
Yeah, and literally your pops and how he would talk. Someone, get the task force.
God damn it, get the task force in here.
Yes, sir. Literally.
Yeah, literally.
Praise be to Allah. Okay, well, Brother Enoch,
Yes,
what was it about? Because I know you were more into the music and the art. How important was hip hop to the task force and young people in the streets at that time?
Wow, it was extremely important. You know, I think I may have mentioned to you before that when I first came into the knowledge of the nation, I didn't even know. I was so dumb. I didn't know what a mosque was, and I worked at Moon Oink down the street.
2 blocks.
I know, Marvin. You remember when Big Daddy Kane and Queen Latifah?
Yeah.
they were there, I think it was either the summer of 89 or 90, and they were telling me, go down to the temple for the hip hop concert. I didn't know where the temple was.
Mm.
Literally just 2 blocks down the street, you know, working.
Right, literally.
You know, so when it comes to hip hop and the whole idea of the connection to the Nation of Islam, it was really one and the same. You can't say hip hop and you don't have artists that have excerpts of the minister, or excerpts of Malcolm, or excerpts of Dr. Khaled, you know, excerpts of Sister Ava. I mean, that was just flowing through the lifeblood, the life fluid of hip hop. So when I first came in, I actually stopped, you know, I was part of a rap group before I came into the Nation. And so when I first started, you know, studying and everything, I kind of put rap down so that I could really get into studying it. However, when we met your father, that all stopped, because he told everybody in the meeting, and I don't know, I think Zai, you was in the meeting, I don't know if Marvin, you was in the meeting where Omnipotent Enterprises came into existence, and it was Akeem and Kenny and Star and Crescent and the
Yes, sir. Remember that.
reggae. And I remember he told everybody in the meeting, get a music business book, look up all the roles that you can play to help Brother Akeem blow up, basically.
Mm.
So you can be a publicist, you know, do public relations, you can be a booking agent, you can be a part of the management team, you can do this, that, and the other, but get a book, learn from that music business book, and then do some work. I took that literally, and I got a music business book, and I started learning the different roles that you can play to actually help. And that's what basically happened. But, you know, with the work that Brother Akeem did prior to that meeting, Brother Marvin and Brother Amzi probably know some of the details regarding how he even got connected with Chicago Chip Records, you know, and I know he had a project before the Coming Down Like Babylon project, right? Or was that the first project?
That was the first album that came out, but he was before that he was doing some rapping with them, and they picked him up, and that's where his first album came out.
Yeah, he had what you would call today some singles already.
Right.
Really
Swinging, yeah. Because I remember that. And then after that, you know, the Coming Down Like Babylon with Time to Come Correct and the remix of it. And then he went on Rap City. So that's when I came from Al Jihad Squad, because Brother Walter 2X, who was the lieutenant of Al Jihad, stole myself and my cousin Douglas, stole us from the task force. And so,
Douglas is your cousin?
Yeah, that's my cousin.
Yeah, okay. Because when I first got on here, I said, damn, is that Douglas over there?
Me and Doug resided on the same night. Yep.
Yeah. And so me and Sheb, we wound up going to Al Jihad. Me, Sheb, Shebaniah, and Doug, we all went to Al Jihad because Aaron and Akeem wasn't quick enough to get us from Brother Walter. And so that's how we ended up. But we wound up soldiering with the task force, you know, anyway. We all were young, so we all soldiered together anyway. So it became easy for me to make the transition later that year. I think it was like November of '91 when I made the transition from Al Jihad to the task force.
Right.
You know, so hip hop was, again, it was just part of the culture all across America and outside of America. You had so many rap groups that, whether they claim to be 5% or, you know, Nation of Islam, everybody knew that, you know, whether you had on the African medallion, you know, and you was rocking that, or people started rocking the X hats because that became the thing to do. But that was just part of hip hop, and it was part of the culture.
Praise be to Allah. And people are showing you love all across the country, saying, wow, good to see these brothers. Brother Chris Cedric says, Assalamu alaikum. I think this is his first time ever watching or commenting. So, Islam, Brother Chris Cedric, Brother Attar, we went to MUI, and people just showing you all love. Can't wait to put this on YouTube. Okay, so Brother Walter, is this the brother who opened the door on the beginning of the time to come correct?
That's him. That's brother.
Okay, That's I went to school. I went to school with his daughter. He had a daughter, and I went to school. She went to MUI with us. I remember her. I think it was his daughter. It had to be his daughter. Yeah, I think I went to school with his daughter.
It was he had a daughter there. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's how I remember Brother Walter. Okay. Boom. All right. So now to you, Brother Amzi, you speak of this training. All three of you speak of this training. there are people all across the country, whether they do security or drill, but people who aspire to be perfect FOI crack soldiers. What advice would you give to the new generation about some of the training that they can, implement in whatever city they are in to reproduce the results of the task force?
I want to say,
Nice, be nice.
I want to say this with all humility. The number one thing that we were taught and that was always pushed was Allah, who came in the person of Master Farrakhan Muhammad, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and it stopped there. Our life's mission was and is to help those three men. No one else was important but them. Not to say that, let me change that. They were the most important, and everyone else fell in line along with them, as long as their allegiance was to those three men. And it's still the same today. Again, our training, and I would advise even the young people, can that work be duplicated? Of course. But it will have to be duplicated with the mind and spirit that produced it back in 89, 90, 91, 92. We were teenagers. We spent majority of our time, as Brother Marvin and Brother Enoch said, at the mosque. We studied all the time. We were taught and trained, wherever you are found, you better have a book in your hand. And that's why even to this day, wherever I go, there's always a book in my hand. I'm always found studying. So there was this manual that we had, a study guide on the Bible and Quran that was in the nation, where it gave us the different passages in the Bible, the different passages out of the Quran that helped to prove and or support who the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is, who the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is, who Allah in the person of Master Farrakhan Muhammad is. I still have it. I still have our training packet that we helped put together in the task force. The books that we were required to study. You said we were taught you have to be a thinker to walk with Farrakhan. He don't need yes men. He needs thinkers. So we were constantly reading, constantly studying military training, the art of war. We didn't have a choice but to study the books of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. How to Eat to Live, Message to the Black Man, The Fall of America, Our Savior Has Arrived. We studied these in our circles before the mosque. We had our meetings after the mosque. When we drilled before the mosque meets, we would drill for hours.
Literally hours.
Literally for hours. There was a dress code. We had inspections, your t-shirt, your socks, your under, make sure you didn't have any brown dreams. So we had inspections that make sure you didn't have holes in your socks. You had to have a pen, a pad, a handkerchief, something to write with. You had to have a watch. These were the necessities, and we put manuals together so that whoever was coming in, they can get a manual. These are the things you needed. And so there were books outside of those that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wrote that we had to study. We were required to study the lectures of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So Islam, and Marvin was 12, 13 years old. When I came, I started processing, I was 17. Brother Enoch was 18. And, some of the brothers were 14, 15, 16, 17, going all the way up to the early 20s. Study was second nature to us. So where now some people, it's just part of the quote unquote culture of the nation and our community to say certain things or do certain things. But like Brother Marvin said, our training was so intense, it became second nature. So there's still things that I do naturally because of my training. And then after the task force, some of us start working by the grace of Allah around the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan on his security detail, and our training became even more intense. And some of those brothers in the task force are still around him to this day. And we still talk about it, that's where our training come from, and it became more then. But the young people have to study. We, in the task force, we were removed from the world. Our teaching was the world of Islam. Our teaching was Allah and his world, the Christ and his word and his actions, the Messiah, his word and his action. We weren't taught the word. We were removed from, and that was the saving grace. So unfortunately, I see a lot of our young people, they in love with this world. They love it because they can do what they want to do and be what they want to be. The teaching or the training now for our young people is different. It's just different now. So my advice to those young people, pick up the books of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and don't just read them now, study them and apply them. Go beyond the books to prove what he taught, because everything that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad taught, that Master Farrakhan Muhammad gave him, is the absolute truth and can be proven. And so, this backdrop here, this is not a backdrop. This is a whole 4 walls of books. So we had to study to prove our faith. Of course, some things were built off the faith, but now prove your faith. Prove the teachings. So you can't prove the teachings by quoting the teachings. No, you got to go beyond it and get the proofs for the proofs for the proofs. And that's why I love the ministers' research team, because they're providing the proofs for the proofs. But many of us don't want to read anymore. We want to be parrots. We don't want to study anymore. We just want to quote. But quoting may not necessarily always save your life. You better be able to prove it, bag it up. And if you can't bag it up, then we all pray to Allah that our faith will sustain us, and we're at that point now where we have to move on faith. But your faith has to have a foundation at some point of knowledge. It has to go beyond faith. And that's where the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is now. Yes, he's still moving on faith, but he has absolute surety of the truth of these teachings and can prove it. That's what the lessons say. Be able to prove to the convert at no limit of time these teachings.
Right. That's right.
So you got to open up a book. We were forced to study. And that's my advice to the young people. Study. Don't just read. Study. Get you a dictionary. Define the meaning of these words. Clear them. And prove that God is who he say he is and who we believe he is, because he want us to try him. He want to prove to us that he is God Almighty. So
excellent. Okay, yes, sir.
Amen.
Yes,
Amen.
Okay, and we coming back to Brother Marvin as well as Brother Enoch. Sadar says that's right all day. She said the task force were excellent drillers. Beautiful. All right, Brother Amzi, powerful teaching. Okay, so for you, Brother Marvin, what advice would you give to the younger generation about holding on to their faith for someone who's been in since you were 12 and 13 years old and still 10 toes down? What advice would you give on to holding on to their faith?
Amzi, that was tough to come behind, but I will say this. Being in the task force as a young soldier made me stand out a lot different from all the other youth in the mosque. For example, you go to the mosque, you see, and I'm talking about Chicago right now, you see, the believers' children, a lot of them want to be, what you see in the world, okay? And I mentioned this in my last interview with you. I had a good friend, a real brother of mine who was very close with the minister, who didn't suggest me to come live with him, but the minister decided he wanted me to come because he said he saw that I valued Islam.
Mm.
And that value that I had from Islam really came from the training of the task force, and it just being instilled in me the love of the messenger, the love of the messenger, the love of Master Farrakhan Muhammad, and just studying and reading all the time. I mean, all we did, when I say we just stayed at the mosque, brother, like he said, we were not in the world. That phase of my life, when I get with people my age now, they say, damn, where were you at when you were our age, man? Because you're not the same.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it was so much in the world that I just didn't know that, now that I'm older and I'm married and I got children and stuff like that, I think back to, well, damn, what was I doing where I wasn't doing this? I was at the mosque.
Mm.
I was suited and booted, picking my shirts up at the cleaners at 13 years old, getting my suits tailored and going downtown, getting some gators, the whole 9 yards, So I would say to the youth now, if you are in a mosque where you have a group of young brothers and you all see one brother that carries that charismatic posture and he shows those leadership qualities, you all group together and have righteous competition with pushing a program, with selling the paper. But let's go further than sell a paper, because one thing we also did was I made bow ties.
Mm.
And
silk bow ties.
Silk bow ties.
Not
Silk
that polyester stuff today. Silk.
Now, it wasn't the polyester, as your dad used to say. This was all 100% silk. So I learned that craft in a task. And then even after the task, I continued on with it to the point where I had my ties in department stores and Evergreen Plaza,
ahead,
up and
man.
down Western.
I need to place an order for some ties, Ma. I need some. Bro. I'll send the money. I'll cash app it.
I got brothers here in Arizona asking me the same thing. I just don't have the time anymore. I really don't.
Mm.
But I say with the young brothers now, so that they don't get caught up in the streets and what's going on in the street, because all the youth want money. It is exciting to see guys their age roll around in nice cars and whips and stuff like that. It's natural to be like, damn, man, I want, the final call is only doing so much. So when I got to my point in the nation where I had to get put out by the minister and I got out there doing things I shouldn't have been doing, I would say to the youth now, start pulling your resources with like minds, as the minister say, and find a business that you all can do together to make some money, so that you don't have to look out there in the world at somebody who may have a car that you like with some rims on it, or wearing some clothes that you like that you just, maybe the final call newspaper is not giving you enough money to buy. But that's when you and another brother say, hey, look, what can we do to make some money? Maybe it's washing cars, maybe whatever it is, just the like minds to get together with brothers you can trust and build off the truth and the teachings and the love. Man, hustle together and get the money, and of course give some back to where it came from, so the nation can continue to grow. But treat yourself and grow as a team. And that's what we did. We grew as a team, and those bow ties, and we had books. We traveled at that time, the minister was traveling all over the country. So we drove everywhere. We sold the books, the tapes. Back then it was tapes, it wasn't DVDs, it was cassette tapes. And then when the DVDs came out, we sold the DVDs. We just, everywhere it was, you can make money. The task force was out there taking advantage and making money righteously and legitly. So we had money in our pockets. And then Brother Rashad, he pulled me to the side when I was 14, and he said, Brother Marvin, you want to make some money? And I was like, yeah. And so he said, okay, let's go out here and meet me at 4:30 in the morning at the mosque. I'm like, man, I don't really get up that early, but okay. So my pops brought me to the mosque, and we hopped in his truck, and we went out, man, and we sold fruit bags from like 5 in the morning to 8. And I walked away every morning with $100.
Mm.
And I took 25 every day to put in to re-up. We did that for about a month. Excuse me. And the only reason we stopped was because the Stop the Killing tour started and we all had to go on tour.
Yes,
So with that money, I was able to go buy me some new dress shoes, you know, a nice white shirt, a suit, you know, or at least put one on layaway and pay on it, you know. So I would say just really focus now on not just the money aspect of money, but really getting into business and growing as a business owner. You know, because that's what we need. You know, that's what
Yes,
everybody. You really can't help our nation without being able to, you know, give something to it. And you won't be able to attract people in if you broke. Just gonna be straight up. I mean, who
yeah.
want to come follow, hang out with a bunch of broke people? They like,
Fair.
man, opposite attract, right?
Yes,
That's
sir.
that's the teachings.
So I mean, you know, we got to get some bread. I mean, we got to speak the language in which they understand. So, you know, definitely stick with the training, like I say, and drilling is so important. The discipline it puts in you. I probably couldn't win a drill competition right now. I'm not gonna sit up here and lie to you, but as much as we drill, brother, it just helped our lives in so many ways. I mean, as soon as you come to the mosque on any given night we had, I don't care what the meeting was. I ain't gonna lie. Sometimes I got tired of drill. I'm like, damn, we gotta line up for drill right now already. But you know, once you get to doing it, after about a good 5 minutes into it, you into it, and you don't want to stop.
Mm-hmm. It's a little story. I remember the first FOI class I did with the task force. We was in the university in the cafeteria drilling. I cried because I couldn't keep up with Marvin. And then I was like, how old is that brother? He was 14. I cried. Literally, because I was embarrassed. I'm like, this little, because I was drilling like, I'm drilling like that's S1W. We don't drill, brother. You leave that on the video. And Marvin's was on my left, and I literally had tears in my eyes because I wanted to be like Marvin. I'm 18 years old. He's 14. This little short dude, bow tie. He had butter cutter creases. I'm like, man, I need to learn how to do that. And the rest is history.
Yeah, I don't remember that, but I know.
Yeah,
we was drilling so much, I had to eventually be cracked with it because that's all I was doing all the time. We get to the mile.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Praise be to Allah. Okay, and people showing you all love all across the country. Thank you for your honesty, your transparency. For you, Brother Enoch, I wanted to ask you about, there are a lot of young people, there's a disconnect between the older generation and the younger generation. How can we bridge that gap?
That's a very strategic question, especially right now with so many of our elders transitioning. You know, I truly appreciated everything about brother, our angelic brother, Jabril Muhammad's janaza today. Because it makes you have to reflect. You know, Brother Marvin mentioned Abdul Waleed Muhammad, the former editor of the Final Call. And I remember being close to him because when I came in, he was the assistant minister at that time, along with being over the Final Call. When I first came to the mosque, and I think it was this November of 1990, that's when I started coming out. And, you know, so from Brother Waleed to Sister Ava to Brother Abdullah, like all of those pioneers, you know, and now Brother Jabril, we're getting to that point where we have so much experience and so much know-how that, you know, we can quote the scriptures and talk about how, you know, the elders bring in the counsel and the wisdom, and the youth, you know, these are the warriors, and we can quote the scripture. However, your question is, well, how do you apply this? How do you make this real? Because the why is evident. We all got to transition sooner or later up out of this piece. One day we all got to go. That's a given. So the why is evident, but the how, you know, it's kind of like what Brother Amzi was saying. We have to be very honest and transparent about the reality that, look, when we were given the millions more movement ministries, and the nation's ministries so that it could expand the work, you're talking about apprenticeship programs now. You're talking about being able to do what Marvin and Amzi was talking about in terms of don't wait for a situation to happen where you got to be trained up, for example, to be on post with the minister. You start working with the local minister. You start working with those around you so you can get training while you're on that level, so that when it becomes a national thing or bigger, well, guess what? You're prepared for it. Well, that's called apprenticeship. That's called interning. That's a programmatic process by which you allow someone to build up the skill sets so that when they have to meet the obligation on those different levels, they already have real-time experience. It's not just theoretical, it's practical. Well, that's really what has to happen with our youth inside the mosque, but also in the nation, period. We got to really begin to take our young people, as the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad would say, if you got one nurse, well, can you see 100 nurses? Well, yeah, if you got one, you can multiply that one and produce 100, because the one can help to teach and train the other 99. You got to start with one, though. And so we're at a state where we got so much training, so much experience, so much know-how. However, if we have people caught up in, again, not only the envy and jealousy, but if you got people caught up in, I got to get validation or recognition or approval from this person with a title, so I can't do the work that the pledge card. You hear what I said? The pledge card. When we all signed the pledge card,
Way back now.
It didn't say you had to have a title to do what's on that pledge card, did it?
No, sir.
So if I'm going to improve myself spiritually, mentally, morally, economically, for the benefit of myself, my family, and my people, if I'm going to build factory, farmland, set up businesses, set up international commerce and trade, if I'm going to do these things, do I have to have a title to do this? Do I have to wait for somebody to give me approval to do what I said I would do when I signed my pledge card? See, the reality is that we have to get down to nation business, not just quote unquote mosque structure business, but this is nation business. And if we don't look at it from that perspective,
General number one.
Yeah, if we don't look at it from that perspective, then we can talk about the 17 million with the 2 million Indians, and we talk about the 19. We can talk about that. We can talk the talk. However, if we're going to apply it practically, hey, we're going to have to do it and do it strategically. How you going to make all men and boys join the FOI if you thinking that only the building you reside in is going to get all these people? All these people not coming to that one building.
No, sir.
So you got to be able to set up beachheads behind enemy lines. You got to be able to think strategically. So, you know, I'm saying what I'm saying for those who can hear, but also I'm saying it for those who can't hear. You have to apply it where you are and then expand it. You got to be able to say, hey, the people need the principles. They need the teachings. They need this stuff demonstrated. They don't need just theory. They need for you to say, hey, you want to learn how to eat to live? Hey, let me come in your home, or let me take you somewhere and I'll show you how to eat to live, and then teach you, and then allow for you to ask me questions. So then when you go into the grocery store, for example, you'll know to look at the labels. You'll know to avoid this, that, and the other, because you're actually demonstrating it. You're not just saying, here's a book, read it. What? How do you teach an illiterate people?
That's
Yes, sir.
kind of like agree with brother. What he just said is basically everything he said in a nutshell is love. The way to bridge the gap is showing love, because they don't see the genuine love there. It's like, man, you know, come on, man. I mean, what are you really doing this for? But as we knew when we came up, it's certain older brothers we knew in the mosque who we just gravitated to, because man, brother's cool, and you could feel the love in them. Like Brother Darius. Who couldn't love Brother Darius? I'm just giving just different examples of brothers, you know. And, you know, I mean, this is an example that we all know. Let's just take the minister, for example. The minister loves, you can't even measure that love, man.
That's right.
You can't even measure it. You cannot measure it. You know, I heard him say, because after a certain point of the task, that's when I started living with the minister. And I was blessed to have a lot of table talks. and I would just hear him talk about his love in comparison to when he's gone, what would be left?
Wow.
I mean, I didn't understand it all like that then, but I mean, now just I ask myself the question, what degree of love will still be there towards each other or towards whoever if he's not around? That's just something we all need to ask ourselves. Not only ask ourselves, then we also need to just start trying to implement that love that we have and just showing more love to each other, atoning to each other. You know, if it's a brother, you know, you haven't spoke to and God knows how long, you know, it's something going on, but you know, you can't put your finger on it. Man, look, whatever, man. I don't know what it is. Let's talk about it. You know, let's put it to the side, man. I love you, bro.
Yeah. And I would add in there, Brother Joshua,
Yes, sir.
As adults, you know, I'm a father. My daughter's 29, baby girl 23, be 24 next month. I never put put myself in a position as if I know everything to them. I never put myself in a position where I'm self-righteous. Oh, I don't do this and I don't do that. Of course, do I share all of my dirt with them? No. They know their daddy has
Hold on, bro.
But they know that I've had life experiences. And so whether I'm dealing with my daughters or I'm dealing with the students in the schools I've worked at, and I've worked with thousands of students now. The program, me and Brother Enoch over the last few years, we've had I would say about 3.5, 4 years, we've had the opportunity to work closely together with a group of high school students. And we use the example that the minister has given us. Use your life as an example for the young people. So as adults, we forget that we used to be young people. As adults, we forget that we made mistakes and we come down hard on the young people. No, so I would tell my young people in the classroom or the youth program I run, like, you know, your parents are liars. I lied too, because we get to a point where we want to hide our mistakes. But no, as adults, we have to teach our children from our mistakes so that they won't make those same mistakes. So towards the decline of the task force, your father gave us Brother Waleed. He became our protecting friend. Captain Waleed, he's going to always be my captain. Your father, as supreme captain, he gave us him. He helped to guide us through that transition. We had brothers like Tadar will pull us to the side. Man, as young people, y'all need to do this, y'all need to do that. Brother Maurice Farrakhan, Brother Sultan Muhammad, Brother Rashad, Brother Haroon. As young men, they were helped to guide us. They didn't come down on us real hard and beat us up. I remember when I was your age. I remember when. So in order to bridge that gap as adults, we cannot forget that we were once young people and we made those same mistakes. So as Brother Marvin said, it's love. We have to love ourselves more than the pain that we in. Our love for our people, our love for our families, communities, our love for Islam and these teachings have to be greater than our pain. And so as Brother Enoch said, just take one and teach that one something. Take two, teach them two something. Whatever it is, that's how you bridge the gap. And we have to always be aware of the enemy there who wants to separate that. And we have to call it out. But we cannot, as adults, sit ourselves up as if we are high and mighty. The minister talked about some of the faults and he's had as a young man, some of the mistakes that he made as a father. And I've always used his example. And I give the example of my daughters and my students. My students say, man, Mr. Muhammad, sometimes he can be wild. But I had one of my former students call me from the hospital a couple of days ago. And he was like, Mr. Muhammad, I never shared this with you, but yeah, you was wild, but you was the father that I never had. He never shared this with me when he was in grammar school. He's 27 years old now. He was like, you was just real with us. You didn't, he was like something like, you didn't fake the funk or something like that. Yeah, you used to share some of your life, the mistakes you made. He said, but you kept it real with us. And so that's why for me, and I know for Marv, we talk sometimes, we respected those OGs on the street because they kept it real with us. Your pop, Jay, he kept it real with us. He talked about some of the mistakes that he made. He taught us how to be better husbands, better fathers. If you got to stop at the gas station on your way home, get one of them $2 roses from the gas station. God damn it!
That
get
black
your wife
box.
a rose.
Black box. Yeah.
So as adults, we have to teach from our mistakes, and we have to always be improving, man. It's not hard to do, but our love has to be greater than that pain.
Exactly what you just said about the challenge. It connects with what Mar said. You can tell that we've gone from death into life because we love.
Yeah.
Before I get to the word brotherhood, we love.
Mm-hmm.
The sisterhood, we love. ...
Yes, sir.
Love. And the reality is that when we truly love, it does affect our life. I mean, it's not just a teaching lesson. It's like, look, the OGs or the brothers that were older than us when we came in the mosque, if they communicated with us out of love and they had respect and consideration for who we really are and were, that means they're trying to touch us here so that we can do better here. You get what I'm saying? So,
Yeah, definitely.
So that respect and consideration that they have for us, they telling us the truth out of love, not out of hate, not out of trying to, one up us or you a little you and I'm a big I. It was, I really do love you. I care about you. I want you to succeed. Only reason why I went to college was because a brother told me, hey, bro, he said, look here, brother Enoch, nation gonna be here, but the minister don't need no dummies. Said, you need to go back to school. That's what he told me. Go back to school and do something for your nation. Make something out of yourself so then when you come back, you have something to offer.
Yes, sir.
So the reality is that when we bridge these gaps, we bridging these gaps based upon what we have to offer. Brother Marvin got all kind of experience and understanding. He got something to offer. Brother Amzi, we got something to offer. Now, if we can offer it, inside the structure, inside the house, that's a blessing. If we're not able to, well, guess what? We still got the 17 men with the 2 million Indians.
Thank you.
So we still got to do the work outside them 4 walls because people still got to navigate. You got to go to the gas station. You got to go around the corner. We don't want to be a church where you don't have an impact on those around the house. Because if you don't impact the people around the house, guess what? They're going to impact you. And people start getting robbed, start getting stuck up, whether you have on a headpiece or not, whether you got a bow tie on or not, because we have to affect our people. How you going to make I don't even like saying the communities because we so colonized as a people, but how do you make where we live clean and decent places to live if you don't deal with your people and impact them?
You won't even speak to them when you're in the street, but your name is Muhammad.
So, I mean, that's the reality of it. I mean, and I'm quite sure. Go ahead, bro.
Okay, Amzi said something in regards to your children. I was watching a YouTube the other day. It just popped up. Old school YouTube. We probably was at the lecture, y'all. The minister said, just take your children one day and just sit down with them and say, hey, daughter, have I done anything, or son, that you didn't agree with, that you just didn't like how I did it, or I could have did it better? He said, don't get all huff and puff. Just listen to them. Just shut up at that moment and listen. And then listen to hear them all the way out. And then you apologize because you're showing them I'm not way up here where I can't listen to you or hear you, because the world is not going to listen to them. Somebody got to listen to them. Apologize to them and show them that humility and that humbleness, and that will show them that, hey, ain't nothing wrong with me being humble and have humility. I saw my dad do it. I know he's tough. He can get all the way up and back my backside. So I can just, slow down. And I mentioned this before, Josh, when the minister put me out for selling drugs. And he told me he got on my backside pretty good. He said, a brother had owed me some money in the mile. So I tried to use the $700 that the brother owed me as, he said, well, why would you go out here and try to kill your people? And I'm busting my lungs all over the US to raise them from the dead. Are you trying to kill them? And my dumb ass said, well, you know, brother so-and-so, you know, I've been doing work for him and, you know, he owed me like $700. I don't want to hear that shit. How long was $700 would have lasted you? You would have spent that in one damn weekend. And in my mind, I wanted to say, no, I wouldn't expect. I just shut up though. I shut up because he already had tears in his eyes. He took his glasses off, and that's when he told me, if I get word again that you disrespecting your mother right sitting right there, I'll break your damn neck myself.
Mm.
And your father was standing behind him, and Sister Shelby was standing, Minister Ishmael was standing there. And you know, what else am I gonna say at that point? I ain't got nothing. I just want to go home safe at this point, you know. You know, he already know what I was doing. But he said, now, if I had got a report that you was out here just having sex or fornicating, he said, I wouldn't bother that because I know you're young and you all at young ages are going to experience things. I can't stop that. All youth are going to experience things. That's what y'all do. You're going to experience things. But out here selling death to your people, I can't just let that go. So that's when he put me out for at that time being for a year, but he still let me come over to the palace and, you know, have dinner and things like that. And once my year was up, that's when I started working the final call. And by that time, I don't think the task was really around anymore. Well, they were under Brother Wali at that time, but I was gone and I was more or less just working with your dad at that time because he had came in the office and I was working as the A team. And that's when I started. So, you know, but all of the training I got from that task led me to be a leader in everywhere I went. Because when Brother Aaron, me and Allah be pleased with him, when he would go away to school and the brothers in college would go away to school, I was the captain in their absence, you know, for the brothers who was back in Chicago. Yep. So you remember that, Amzi?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And so through that training, when I go to different mosques, as of today, I go to different mosques all the way up to now. I got to go revisit a mosque and just talk with a brother because of the training that was needed. And I had a guest there who doesn't want to come back to this particular mosque. And I got to go talk to the brother because I realized they just don't know. They don't know who gonna train them. They just certain things they just don't know. And without going into it, but it was basic stuff that at Mosque Marian we just knew and we were trained. You know, we got the minister there to correct us. You know, when he come out sometime to MUI and we in the class and we sit and slouch down and stuff. I don't know how many times y'all had him come over, Josh, when you were there, but we had him come over quite frequently.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And he'll pull out a chair in the front and he'll sit down in front rostrum position and tell us, this is how you sit, you know. And, you know, I remember he came in one day and a couple of teachers got jazzing with him. And he told him, the students told him, well, Sister so-and-so said, what the minister gonna do to me? He came over, Sister, did you say that? And she tried to whistle her way out of it. He was like, okay, well, you can be relieved right now of your post, sister. And we'll call you when we want you back. I don't know. I'm sure he probably gave us some pay or something. I don't know, but she was up out of there. I know that.
She learned that day.
And as students, we like, yeah, boy, somebody got her.
Hey, Mar, you brought up something. I got to make sure we set the record straight. And Josh has got to be in the history books because they tried to write Aaron out of history. Nation of Islam Student Association started with Aaron Muhammad down at South Carolina State University. I know Amzi was like, we got to make sure we set the record straight because NYSA, as we were calling it back then, Nation of Islam Student Association, it started off in South Carolina. Then you all can correct me on who was second or third. I know Mike 10 had it down in Alcorn. I know Herb had it down in Jackson.
And I think Jackie had it in Atlanta, right?
Yep, those were the first four. Yep, down was Aaron, then Mike and Mike and Herb, and I think Jackie had one down there, and Atlanta as well. Yep.
But I don't know what school he had in Atlanta, but I do know also, brother, the former director of the Muhammad University, Brother Larry, he had it at U of I, him and Micah. They were down at U of I. And so they had U of I. And then when we brought the Nation of Islam Student Association down to Southern Illinois University, I was down there in 1994.
I remember that. I was there.
And so we brought the Noisa down to SIU in what I call Carbon Hell. And so a lot of other schools, again, that set up Nation of Islam Student Associations in the early 90s. And unfortunately, that history has gotten written out as if he didn't exist. And I think the minister in Columbia at that time was Brother Kendall, who became Brother Amin, correct?
Yes, sir. He helped write the first Constitution.
Exactly. And so that's where you get Brother Don Enoch. You know, he was down there with him, and Brother Abner Farrakhan was down there with him. You know, you had Brother Craig Conwell, he's down there. So you had a lot of people, you know, who was down there in South Carolina. But that history, you know, you can't just write the brother out of history in terms of the good work that he did.
Yes, sir.
Okay, yes, sir. I want to stay right there because we got so many questions. People showing love all across the country.
Let them ride.
Yes, sir. We had a quick commercial break for all of the sponsors of People's Podcast, and then we're gonna come right back to our three brothers. Thank you all for this great history that you are giving us, and I want to make sure that we stay right there on the NYSA point as well. Thank you for every like, share, subscription, and anonymous cash to all of the supporters of our YouTube family. People are showing us love on Twitter, Instagram. I mean, we just want to just thank a lot for everybody. Hold on. Here we go. Oh, Jesus Christ. There we go.
Is this the commercial break?
Thank you for all. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Go ahead. Here we go.
Third to the funkadelic grooves of Batin, this town has produced some true legends. On August 6th at 6 p.m., we gather at the historic Douglas Theater to pay tribute to these greats of Macon. It will be a special night as the all-star band takes the stage. Joining forces, the band will perform songs that were dear to Batin, Jamal Thomas, Otis Redding III, and Tony Bone Dorsey. Tonight, they come together to create pure musical magic. The guitar effortlessly weaving melodic solos that touch your soul. The heartbeat of the rhythm section driving the groove with infectious energy. The all-star band carries on the legacy, echoing with the same raw passion that captivated audiences decades ago. Together, these extraordinary musicians pay homage to Macon's music legends, honoring the legacies that helped put this city on the musical map. This night at the historic Douglas Theater, we celebrate the spirit of Macon and the indelible mark these greats have left on the world of music. Don't miss this once-in-a-lifetime performance. Get your tickets now and join us for an unforgettable
excellent
night.
1 second. We just have a few more of our sponsors. Also, exclusively for you, Black Man, by Sister Helen. It is a book of poetry and spoken word. You can get this book, HRSPATROL42@gmail.com. 1 moment. This is our last 60-second commercial break, and we are right back to our amazing panelists. 1 second.
Camera and a drone. He does television and film editing. Please reach out to him if you need any of those services. Sister Miriam's ABC I Love Me, children's book and coloring book, and now Spanish book. All 3 available on Amazon.com. Sister Naima's Stay on Point Dance Academy, LLC. She teaches ballet virtually to young girls all across the country, right here in the studios of Atlanta, Georgia. Brother Kenneth's Bow Tie Maker Extraordinaire. He'll ship you bow ties anywhere across the nation. Dr. Henry Carter's King Henry Turkey Legs, right here in Atlanta, Georgia. Brother Rashad Muhammad's COVID-19 Disinfected Cleaning Services, out of Chicago. Student Minister Sharif Muhammad's book, A Soldier in the Movement of Christ, available on adulsharif.com. And lastly, Brother Joshua Muhammad's book, Cleopatra as well as No Father, No Excuse, both available on Amazon.
Boom. All right, 1 second. And our Sister Sherry with Asiatic Mind. She teaches STEM to young kings and queens all across the country. Please enroll your student in AsiaticMinds.com. Please enroll your student in AsiaticMind.com. All right, right back to our panel. All right, I want to start with you, Brother Amzi, dealing with Brother Aaron. So let us know some of the, like one of your favorite memories of Brother Aaron, because the Brother Aaron that I remember, very kind, soldier, drilling, always nice to me and my family. Like Brother Enoch says, like people don't even, speak about him anymore. Could you let us know one of your favorite memories with Brother Aaron?
Believe it or not, Aaron had a wonderful sense of humor. He was always joking. He used to fuss at me all the time for being silly. I'm still the same way. I'm serious when it's necessary. Other than that, I'm a child at heart.
Yes, sir.
But Aaron had an infectious smile and spirit. Even on his bad days, he was able to bring life to whatever area or environment that he was in. Aaron, although he was no nonsense, he was still gentle. He knew how to correct with love. When I was always making mistakes. There was times when he would fuss at me in public, but even during those times, he would always afterwards pull me to the side and pick me back up. He was a natural born teacher, and he was brilliant. He had a brilliant mind. He was a visionary. He was an organizer. And the only time when I came into mosque in April of 1991, the only time I had with him was the week when they would come on spring break, and then for those summers. So those summers, we was out soldiering. We was on a mission. And we come back, we all joke and laugh, we'll break bread, but he was just a brother. And even to this day, I still miss him. And Aaron died in 93.
Right.
So that was what? That was 20 years ago? 30 years ago?
Yes, sir.
30 years ago. And I still miss him because he wasn't just my brother. He was my friend. He was my big brother. I think Aaron was a year older than me. He was my big brother. I could ask him for advice as a student, as a big brother. And because my little brother, Shebaniah, was in the task force as well.
Yes, sir.
And I made some mistakes with him. And he would say, man, Brother Amzi, don't do that to your little brother. Don't do that in the public. That's still your brother. I don't care what the structure is. That's still your brother. You got to live with him. You don't have to live with us. So he was a trainer. He was a trainer. And his example is an example to be mimicked. It's an example to be carried on as a brother, as a trainer, as a leader, and as a Muslim. Yeah, he had his mistakes. He had his faults. And I would challenge anybody who would try to badmouth him. I risk taking time because I'll punch you in your damn mouth for disrespecting him. But he was a brother. And he loved the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He loved the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. He loved the God. And that's what he taught and instilled in me. And I will always love him for that. Period.
Excellent. Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. For you, I want to go on the NYSA point to becoming a Brother Marvin right after that. With you, the NYSA, why is that so important for you, Brother Amzi? Why is that such an important point?
See, and like Brother Enoch started it off, some of the wicked, envious, and jealous among us, they're still trying to write us out of history. And I'm not about to sugarcoat this one. They're still trying to write us out of history for youthful mistakes. NYSA it still is the brainchild of Farrakhan's task force. That idea came out of the basement. The office that I think the captain has now, that was the task force office. That idea, the structure and everything came out of that office, but we couldn't call it Farrakhan's task force. So it took on another name because we still wanted it to be attached to the Nation of Islam. So it took on the name, the Nation of Islam Student Association. And Brother Amin, at that time, he was the minister down in South Carolina. He worked with Brother Aaron to put that together, to write the bylaws and all of that for it. I remember one time he came to Chicago. I think it was in 92. I had my second apartment, because at one time, me and Brother Enoch and the young Muslims, both of us were just fresh out of our parents' house. We had shared an apartment together. And so somebody ended up breaking in the apartment, and we had to leave. So my second apartment, I remember when Brother Amin, he was Brother Kendall at that time, the minister of South Carolina, and Brother Salim, Brother Aaron's dad, they stayed with me when they came to Chicago, and he told me the history of that. So the NYSA, yes, it's made for the young people. It was made or written to, one, universalize the teachings and the language of Islam, to get our people, to teach them our way, to teach them our understanding of the world, of scripture, of history. Our aim and objective was to make it just as popular as the Divine Nine, as any fraternity or sorority. That was the aim and objective, because we wanted, as Brother Enoch said, to put a beachhead behind enemy lines. That's what it originally was for. And I'm thankful for those who continue to carry it out. I don't know what it looks like now, but that's what it originated. That's what it started as. That was the mind and idea behind it, to put the Nation of Islam in the educational institutions here in America, but it was the task force, but we couldn't call it that. But it's a valuable tool for our young people, our college students. It's a valuable tool if it's done properly.
Praise be to Allah. And thank you all for this history. We have so many more questions for you. Brother Craig Conwell, who y'all spoke of earlier, says exactly. Brother Aaron, Brother Marcus X. Billinger, and
yes,
Abnar got the first chartered NYSA on the college campus. Beautiful. Thank you all for the great history. Brother Marvin, could you let us know some of the other brothers? And we're gonna come, of course, to other things, the separation of the task force, or the breakup of the task force, and let us know what advice we can learn and valuable lessons we can learn from that as well. But one moment on that. Brother Marvin, could you let us know some of the brothers who, outside of Brother Aaron and the task force, that played a part that we don't want to leave out of history, that played a positive impact on your life and the Nation of Islam in general?
You on mute,
Marv? You on mute? You on mute?
All right. I said that's a good one there. That's a good one there. I just really brought to my attention that it's been 30 years since Aaron's been gone. So I said, wow, we getting up there, brothers. But other than the task force, you have brothers like Brother Maurice, Brother Tata, the whole E team, your dad, Supreme Captain Mustafa. Because I had the opportunity to live with the minister, I was able to become like family with, a lot of the older family members, like Brother Olive. I would go over his house and spend weekends, and he would barbecue and cut up vegetables and fruit, and while Anwar and I played the video games, and he would just drop knowledge on us at those young ages. So as I'm almost 50 now, wow, I look back at the brothers who helped to shape me. So I saw Brother Olive out here in Arizona a few months ago, and well, not a few months ago, it was about a year ago. Brother Amir, Aaron's brother, had a birthday party. And I went to it, not knowing that that was going to be his last party. But he blew my phone up that day. He said, "Man, you coming to the party? You coming to the party?" It wasn't really a party. It was just a get together, really. I said, man, I'm coming, man. I mean, it's not too late on the night. I got a million things to do. You got to keep calling me up. I'm coming. So my wife and I went by there, and they rented out a beautiful Airbnb, him and his wife, and they had food all over. We ate great. And I was able to, vibe with Brother Maria. Used to be with Maria at the time. Hello?
Marv, you freezing up a little bit, bro. You freezing
yes,
up.
sir. Yeah, Marvin, you freezing.
Hello?
All right, bro, Marvin, just come. You come back, like log out, come right back in.
Hello?
Okay, we come back to you. We go to you, Brother Enoch. We're waiting on Brother Marvin. Brother Marvin, you back? Okay, he's still frozen out. All right, Brother Enoch.
Can y'all hear me?
He was freezing,
Can y'all
Marvin.
hear me?
We can hear you.
He's going out.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
What about now?
Yes, sir. We can hear you now.
Yeah, we got you. Perfect.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what was the last thing you heard me say?
You said you and your wife went to the
party.
Okay, yeah. So I got to touch on Amir because Aaron and Amir were like two peas in a pot, and they were the first young FOI I saw the first time I ever came to the mosque. They had on their white FOI uniforms, sitting over in the left wing where I always sit. And when I saw them, I said, man, them brothers are young. They like my age, look like, So that made me feel like right there that I could fit in, not knowing that that was going to be the beginning of the task force. Because before it was the task force, can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. It was called the SSM, Secret Service of Muhammad, because we hadn't had a name yet. And so we just, again, provided security for the local ministers. But like I said, the E-team, Brother Tata, Brother Maurice Farrakhan, we had Rashad Haroon, your father when he came in, Brother Ali, the former Supreme Captain Ali, Benny Mo. We cannot forget Benny Mo.
No, sir.
Benny Mo took me in as a young brother and really broke the spookiness up out of me and everybody.
Amen.
Spooky, brother.
and boy, he take you to the pancake house. You like, Brother Benny, I thought we ain't supposed to eat pancake, man. Look, order what you want, man. Get you some pancakes, man. They got turkey sausage. Just get what you want, man. Get some orange juice, So once I got a little older and when I was staying with the minister, just to go into a little bit of how being spooky or not being spooky the minister is, we went to the pancake house. Now in my mind, I'm like, man, we're going to the pancake house, So we went to the mall and he says, well, we're going to take y'all to the mall to get something to eat. Mother Khadijah, well, he had just bought Mother Khadijah's Lexus. And I didn't know it was an expensive car. Again, we were like out the world. We was in our little world of task. So we get in the Lexus and we go to the packing house by the plaza. And we in there eating and he was eating. But while being with him, with the training of the task, always are security minded. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, man, we ain't got no other brothers with us. It's like, it's just me and Anwar, Sister Holiday, and we young, So, do we sit and eat or do we stand and what do we do, right? So the minister, y'all sit down and get what you all want. So we did. One guy came over and noticed them and was like, hey, how you doing? I love you or something like that, And but my training kicked in, like, should I even let him come near or whatever? But he just, again, it goes back to everything we touched, that love. And to mention the brothers who I always looked up to, who really helped to train me as a young man after the task, was your father's E-team. When I was in MUI cutting up, as I said before in my last interview with you, they got me right. They put that belt to my backside in that boiler room, brother. And it was real. It was real. As your father said, we're gonna let you know God's real. You're gonna meet God in person today. So when you saw Tyler, you'll see Tyler like, look, man, you better get your ass together. You take your ass down there and beat your, that's Tyler. He still say it to me to this day.
Brother Marv, you froze again.
Okay, while we're waiting on Brother Marv,
we need to do it again. So you the brother. I'm still frozen.
yes, are you back now?
Okay. Yeah, so those are the brothers mainly who helped me out and who I really looked up to. But I couldn't get off this without mentioning Brother Amir. He passed last year. He passed a week before my dad. I was in Chicago with my dad in the hospital, and I found out about Amir's passing while at the hospital with my dad who was passing. And so, it was rough because when I came to Arizona, he was the first person that came to see me and sat in my backyard with me. And we just laughed and talked and just, oh man, it was just, he made me feel like I had a friend here. I don't know many people here other than my family, but he would come by, I could call him and, hey man, I need to talk, man. I'll be there in a few minutes. He'll pull up and we'll talk and ride around, and he would just open up to me and sometimes cry and I do the same, so Amir, Celestina, Aaron, that family there is a family that should never be forgotten.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
All praises to Allah. Yes, sir, Brother Marvin. Beautiful. And that's right. Shout out to Amira and Tance, who people I just saw Tance at the Swan Song lecture. I saw Tance. I hadn't seen her in a long time, so we spoke. And of course, all the children as well. Okay, for you, Brother Enoch, I wanted to ask you, what members of the task force don't we mention enough that you would like to, make sure are remembered as well?
It's funny you asked that question because your Amzi probably gonna be like, Enoch, you gonna pull out that list you got of 78 names on you got 78 names on this task force list here. But I'm gonna start off with one of the young brothers. I know Brother Amzi, remember Brother Thomas.
Yes, sir. Thomas too.
Thomas 2X. He was about, I don't know if he was 14 when he joined the task force.
He was 14 years old, a freshman in high school.
Freshman in high school, Brother Thomas. And him, Brother William, he's
Ill Will, yes, sir.
Ill Will, may he rest in peace because he passed.
Oh, yeah, Ill Will, yeah.
Will, he was going to St. Rita. He was at high school when he joined the task. And then, Brother Jackie that we spoke of that had the Nation of Islam Student Association in Atlanta, he passed some years ago. Brother Peter TX, Brother Peter TX, the barber.
Salam alaikum.
Yeah, Brother Peter T.
Fresh right in the bathroom before the meeting.
Yes, sir.
And when Brother Marvin was talking about the businesses, I mean, brothers, had cleaning services where if you wanted your shirts clean and make sure that they were the collars and the wrists, of your white shirts were clean. We had people that would press and clean your shirts. We had people making sandwiches. We had people, of course, doing the fruit bags. Me and Amzi and a crew of brothers, we would go on the train with donation cans and
yes, sir,
up and have mosque meeting on the train.
Literally.
Yes, sir. Hold it up. You know what I mean? We would come back. We would have so much money in those cans. It was ridiculous how much money we was raising with them donation cans. You had brothers from LA. I forgot brother's name. I think his name was Chris. He was a tall brother. He was a Crip from LA. And he came and he joined the task force.
Yep, Chris, I remember him. Yes, sir.
Then of course you had Brother Corey and Brother Chris and Brother Donald. They all three came together, I think, to the task force at one time.
No, that was Donald, Kenyon, and
Donald, Randy, and Kenyon, and Jay.
And Jay, yeah.
Okay.
I don't think Jay came to the task.
No, he was in Al Jihad.
Oh yeah,
Brother Donald, his brother Wazir now.
Right. Okay. So I know that Brother Randy. I remember Brother Randy. Then we had
Don't forget the Lord of the Red Eye.
oh yeah, brother Anthony. He passed
Yes.
away in that car accident. Brother Anthony
Oh
and brother
yeah, he
Stephen.
did. He did.
And brother
And-
Sheree survived it, but
Yes, sir.
he was hurt and paralyzed. Much love to brother Sheree and his brothers, brother Yakoya and brother Yakoya's the other brother name is Yaakov, right?
Yaakov, yep.
Oh yeah.
And Zadik was in the nation as well. Their family came in as well. He's down in Dallas now.
Yeah. And then, you know, we had
And we had Brother Perry.
brother Big P. Big P
Yep.
Abu. Carlin,
Yep.
brother Carlin.
Mhm.
So I didn't know brother brother Jabbar that was in the task force too.
Brother Jabbar he was in task.
Yeah, he was Felipe back then.
Yep.
Felipe. Because you had Alton, there was
Yeah.
brother Alton and brother Haroon was I forgot his name. It was Rashad was Alton, wasn't he?
No, that was Haroon.
That was Haroon was Alton. And then I forget Rashad.
It's Tyrone.
Tyrone, yeah. So
Right.
I remember them during them days, you know. I mean, it's deep when you think back on this, like 30 years later, you know, but we had so many people on that list. Brother Sean 2X Cross, you know, I remember he came in, you know, Brother Hashim.
Brother Lemuel.
Oh yeah, he came, Brother Sheon Lemuel now, boy, got a powerful dojo.
Brother
I
Quinn
spoke with
Cedric.
him last night.
Brother Quinn Cedric.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, the Mighty Q.
Quinn, yeah. You know, we had some power, we got some powerful brothers still. Brother Marlon,
Ebony Man.
Ebony Man, yeah. Aiden.
Terrell.
Oh yeah.
Hey.
Big T still pushing.
And some of the ones they just named are around the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan now.
That's right.
They're still there, soldiering.
And they would admit to you and let you know to this day that the training that they have now, they got from the TAS at that young age.
D9, but now Brother Khalil. Yes, sir.
Hey,
Yes,
it's
sir.
a funny story about that D9. I don't think I told Josh this, but I was the first D9.
Yep.
Because I came in as Duro 9X. And Brother Walter looked at my ID after I got in and said, "Hey brother, your name is Enoch. Why you got Duro? Why you call yourself Duro?" And after I explained it to him, he said, "Man, go back and process it and tell them your name is Enoch, so you could be the Enoch X and leave that for another Duro to come in." And that's how he became Duro 9X, because I was the first Duro 9X.
Okay.
He was the first one to get his name taken.
Excellent. And brothers, we just a few more moments of your time, and people are sharing love all across the country. Brother Ams, people saying this is real great history, the task force. Brother Ams, I want to ask you, the phrase that I heard when I was in Chicago growing up so much from you all, first of all, on behalf of myself, my family, and the viewing audience of the People's Podcast, we thank a lot for you, Brother Amzi, Brother Marvin, as well as Brother Enoch, and all of the brothers who sacrificed to help establish Islam here in North America, and for the sacrifices of your family. We sincerely thank you. I thank you personally for looking out for me and my family and making sure that we were straight and just being kind and good brothers to me. I have nothing but very fond memories of you all. So I want to thank you, first of all, publicly. Make sure we thank you all for all the work that you all have done, are doing, and continue to do.
As well, brother. Thank you and your family as well, because I learned a lot from your mother and your father.
Praise be to Allah.
And your grandmother.
Oh, yes. Thank you. I want to say shout out to Brother Randy. Wherever Brother Randy is, if he ever watched this, let him know we sent him nothing but love. He was one of those brothers who was always on post with. And Brother Peter, just quick story, everybody sharing stories. Brother Peter, I asked him to get me a Michael Jordan sign in the back of my head. He told my dad, and I got in trouble. So shout out to Brother Peter for that. Shout out to Brother Peter for the Michael Jordan symbol in the back of my head. Shout out to that. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to that, Brother Peter. You know what I'm saying? I remember that story very vividly. Yes, sir. But no, Brother Ams, I was going to say nothing but a task is what I heard when I was younger, you know, MUI and all the brothers, the young men, and you always saying nothing but a task, nothing but a task. What does that mean?
So as the fruit of Islam, we in the handbook, we are taught to meet and overcome all obstacles in our path. So there was nothing that was asked of us that we could not or would not accomplish. So we was being tasked for us. It's like, shh, it ain't nothing but a task. And we'll take that deep breath because we didn't believe in failure. We didn't believe in anything stopping us. As long as we had the backing of Allah, His Christ, and His Messiah, there was nothing we couldn't accomplish. So everything it's nothing but a task. And I can say, if not, and Marv would allow me to speak for him, that's still our motto today, because we let nothing stand in our way. Nothing. We will meet and overcome all obstacles. That's our training. So yeah, that's what it meant, man. It's nothing but a task. We got it.
Okay. Yes, sir. Well, we have just 3 more questions for everyone on the panel, and can't wait to put this on YouTube tonight. We coming to Brother Marvin, then Brother Enoch after this question. So the reason that Brother Enoch asked, and I said, of course, what can we learn from? We spoke of the positive, but there was a trial. What can we learn from the trial of the task force for the other generations who are coming up? You know, what can we learn? What can be learned from the task force? For you, Brother Amzi.
I'm gonna start with the words of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in his lecture, "The Causes of Suicide and Homosexuality," on April 1st, 1993. I think that's when the lecture was done.
Yeah, that's it.
He asked the nation to pray for us.
April 7th, I believe.
April 7th, yeah, because Aaron died on April 1st.
Right.
April 7th. April 7th. Thank you for that correction. He asked for the nation to pray for us. Some prayed, P-R-A-Y-E-D, for us, and some prayed, P-R-Y-E-D, on us. They mocked us, even to this very day, but they call themselves brothers and sisters. But there are several valuable lessons that we can learn from the trial. Our people are suffering from all the ills of the world. We were young men, some of us coming from diverse backgrounds, and I'll use myself as an example, and I don't mind sharing this. I was an abused child. I love my mother. My mom passed going on 2 years ago. I delivered her eulogy, and there was nothing negative I can say about her. Everything she did to me, I still have nothing negative to say about her, because it was produced by the pain that she was in. So our young people are coming to the nation, whether they're in the nation or not, where our young people are suffering from child molestation, child abuse, drug abuse, alcoholism, you name it. Our young people suffer from that. And some of us didn't suffer from that. Some of us were very poor coming into the nation. Brother Thomas used to walk from 111th in Indiana to 73rd and Stony Island just to be with the brothers. Brother William used to sneak to the mosque. I remember Brother Dana used to sneak to the mosque. But we brought all of that to us, and as young men, and even with our king, he was an abused child. He never got over that. And so what the advice that I would give to leadership, the advice that I would give to young people, is we have to, and I remember Brother Enoch said this, I think earlier, we have to acknowledge what we're going through. We have to acknowledge our experiences in order to get the help that we need, in order to heal. There's a saving grace and healing balm in the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, if they're applied properly. Those study guides of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, it's healing in those. So what affected me, I didn't pass that on to my children. Yeah, there was some times that I was rough in language, but I wasn't hitting on my children. all the time. Man, they got little whoopings, teddy little hands. I had a pink ruler. To this day, they hear it from me. We still joke about that. But I stopped whooping them after a certain age because I didn't want them growing up with a man putting their hands on them. So we have to be able to handle our people in a more gentle manner because we're coming out of a world that destroyed us. We're coming out of a world with all the ills that you can think of. So what? We were teenagers. We were suffering. So there was some among us who got involved with those behaviors, and it was very few. It was the whole squad. It was not a whole squad. It was just a few. And most abused children at some point in time would do certain abuses. They become abusers. It's a cyclical effect. And as a nation of healers, we have to do better. We have to understand that we have to handle our people in a better manner, because nobody came to the nation to follow brother lieutenant this, brother captain that, brother supreme this, or sister lieutenant. We all came to follow the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and Allah, who came in the person of Master Fard Muhammad. We're their followers, not brother this or sister that or lieutenant this. Hell no. I am a follower of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and if you can't treat me the way he treats me, then leave me the hell alone, because he don't beat us up. He handles us with care. Even when he's rebuking or chastising us, it's done with love, and he then picks us back up. But we don't follow his method. We don't follow his method, and we wonder why there's a revolving door. So my advice to the young people coming in, be honest with yourselves, young people. You know what you've been through. Seek the help. Get the counseling, because we're in pain. But there's a love in these teachings that's greater than the pain that we're in. And to the leadership in the nation and the leadership in our communities in general, stop treating the people like you're holier than thou and you've never been through anything, because you just as rotten as the rest of us coming up out of this world until we get these teachings. You're just as dirty. The house is a wash tub, so to speak. It's a shower. So we all come there to heal. Take the example of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and we will always do better, because he's our guide, not lieutenant this, minister that, or supreme this. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is the only guy amongst us, and he's the best amongst us with no equal.
Go ahead, teach for Amzi. Yes, sir.
Come on, man.
All right, listen.
I gotta come behind him, man.
I apologize. And I apologize if I offended any of the listeners, because we're 30-something years past this, and Brother Marvin, Brother Enoch, Brother Joshua, and anybody else know we're still hearing the BS. But no one wants to ask what happened. No one wants to ask what happened after the task force, because most of us still stayed. It didn't involve everybody. No, it was just a few. And even amongst that few, most of the few is still speculation.
You know, this is a great opportunity that we got to even kind of get this clear. So at a certain point, I was removed from the task by Brother Supreme Captain Frank, Brother Ali, because my grades started falling. You know, we were soldiering, we was moving hard. So my grades started falling. And so he moved me out the task. And that's when I started living with the minister. It wasn't like, you got out the task, now the minister wants you to come live with me because you're in trouble. No, it just all happened like that. Just wasn't no coincidence. That's just how it happened. So the task continued on. So while at the palace, Keem called one day and was like, hey, you come to the mosque? And I'm like, yeah, I come to the mosque. I didn't have many clothes. I think I wore some socks with holes in them. I think I had Mother Khadijah gave me a a safety pin to put in my sock.
Mm.
And brother pulled up in a limousine. And so we went to the mosque. And when I got back, the minister said, "Yeah, I see you went to the mosque. You had a big old limousine pick you up, huh?" I was like, "Oh, yes, sir. That was Brother Akeem." He was like, "Oh, okay." He said, I said, "Well, yeah, I was part of the task." He said, "You're not part of the task force anymore?" I said, "No, sir. They took me out. They said I'm too young. My grade." He said, "I wish they tell me I'm too young and take me out to work, because he knew the task was doing the work."
Yes, sir.
And so, but still, the task continued on. The task continued on. So as Amzi said, there were very few brothers in that, very few brothers, but the task continued on. Even once Akeem was gone, the task continued on, because I'll say this, and this is what I would say to anybody, especially young who come in, and if you get into a unit like that, kind of how it said in the Bible when it said you take your eye off the Lord, you sink.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We follow the minister, man. We follow the teachers of Honorable Elijah Muhammad. It's clear in black and white. Okay? When you see something that don't go right along with that, and you questioning that, hey, sound the alarm. Report it. Okay, let's keep it real. You might report it and no one believes you. What do you do in that situation? You just keep on being that squeaky wheel that's going to wait for that oil to come.
Yes, sir.
You just keep on being that squeaky wheel, and eventually the oil is going to come in ways that you didn't imagine. It might not come from your voice anymore, but someone else might say, "Hey, whatever, hey, now, they can't ignore it."
Mm.
Because now the wheel is so loud, now everybody's wheels are squeaking. So meanwhile, of course, 30 years later, almost 35 years later, people still, because I know many who watch this like, "Oh man, I know this, I know that." They don't know nothing. They don't know nothing. We did the work. We had a brotherly love. Some understood, some didn't. Yeah, there were some things that went on that wasn't correct, but that was a small, minute atom in the task. And once that was taken away, the good part continued on. And one thing Minister told my mother, because she didn't understand the brotherhood, she didn't understand it. To her, it's like, y'all just too close, y'all all right, that kind of thing. So she told the minister how she felt about it. And he said to her, he said, "Sister, everything that is not of God will fall away from him." Did it happen?
Yeah.
So that's what I say to those listening and to the young brothers who may be in a situation like that. Like Amzi said, seek counsel. And I say, if you see something that's not right, and you old enough to know right from wrong. We ain't dealing with no 4-5-year-olds right now. We're talking about teenagers and stuff that's getting into doing the work. Because don't think it just stopped at the task force.
Yes, sir.
It's still there.
Itself. It's still there. So you have to be able to spot it. And when you spot it, be that squeaky wheel until you get that damn oil. Write letters. Keep on writing them. Okay, you didn't get an answer to this. Go up the chain. Go up the chain. Go up the chain. And remember the chain of command. Who it starts with and who it ends with.
Yes,
the
sir.
3.
Go ahead, Marvin.
And I will interject this. And again, and when next time you see your father, please give him a hug for me and tell him I love him, because he stepped in and he pulled some of us up on the minister security. We was working on the security team. He officially up on the security team. Some of us officially on his security team, and other posts around the nation here in the city. And he gave us brother Captain Wali, who became our protector. And he's still my protector. At 50 years old, he's still my mentor, my big brother. He was the one who was teaching us how to fast. I remember when he would, and I'm gonna get to Brother Enoch, when he took over the task force, because after Akeem left, me and Terrell ran it. It was me and Terrell, and we kept it going. We called hell. Terrell at one time, Terrell had, I forgot, it was a Bell's palsy or something happened from the stress. But even when him being ill and his face twisted up, Terrell never stopped. He came to the mosque and still soldiered, and we just switched positions when he got sick. So, but it was your father and Brother Wally who stepped in. I remember Musa would come down and share some words with us. There were people who cared, but there were people who didn't give a damn either. But it was enough people who cared. And to this day, those that hung around, we're successful. We're lawyers, teachers. Marv got his own business. Knock got his own business. I have my own business. We're still working with young people. Some of us are lawyers, school superintendents. Brother Quinn Cedric has his own business. I can just run the names. In Islam, Brother Lemuel is a master at what he do. Some of us employ the believers.
And Brother Chris, he's into music heavy with no ID.
Yes. Brother Chris, yes. So, and we're still Muslims.
We're still Muslims. The best title you can have.
Yeah. Go ahead, Brother Enoch. I'm sorry, y'all. Please forgive me.
Oh no, man. We appreciate
You caught the Islamic Holy Ghost, my brother. I understand the Islamic Holy Ghost. So please excuse me for having this dark interior. I'm gonna try to lighten it up a little bit. Maybe I'll turn the light on up there or something. I'm in motion to Sister Akila Nihanda's concert. I wanted to make sure I come out and support her over there at Gallery Guichard over there across from the Hill Washington.
Yeah,
on 47th Street.
Yes, sir.
But I want to say one of the main things I want to put out there that both my brothers touched on. We have modern technology, and when you ask that question, Brother Joshua, slangs may change, but unfortunately, a lot of things remain the same. We've had believers who, the children have committed suicide after Aaron committed suicide in 1993.
Yes,
so
sir.
There are a lot of lessons that have not been passed down, shared, or learned that must be institutionalized. So when it comes to the modern technology, I heard Amzi when he mentioned the study guides, particularly study guide 18, which kicked off our study looking into the value of understanding how the brain works, the limbic system, the hypothalamus. That was the first time I began even considering the power of the emotional centers of the brain and the amygdala and just how all this stuff works. We walk around with a body and we are not learning and understanding how to utilize our own body and its systems to calm ourselves down. That's why we got to get high. That's why we got to get drunk. That's why we got to eat something. That's why we got to sex somebody. We got to do something because we have not learned how to use this thing called a body and all the chemistry and the physiology. I really do understand why the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said it takes us 75 years to learn how to live.
That's right.
Because we have to go through all of our ignorance and all of our misunderstandings, which is a very key word in that Form 4. Misunderstandings. Yes. I've had so many misunderstandings, it's crazy. But however, just to understand that we have these misunderstandings and we have to now deal with the fact that, okay, we have modern technology where, as we learned, some of us didn't know that Brother Jabril, for example, had study guides before the self-improvement study guides came into existence. Brother Jabril had study guides that the believers were reading. Well, guess what? We've been blessed to increase the technology. So we got into the year 1995, and then we got the 8 steps of atonement. And then we began to learn years later, there's a science to atonement. It's not just repeating the 8 steps and you communicating, that you did wrong to somebody. No, you got to point out your own wrong first. And you got to deal with your self-atonement before you deal with others, because the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, self first, then others. You don't go to the other person first, talking about their wrongs. You got to deal with you. Get your contribution off the table when it comes to problems, conflicts, and issues. So I'm just touching on these elements of modern technology. Then we got introduced to the science of Dianetics and how to deal with our trauma and our pain. and those engrams, and to look deeper into how we can open ourselves up to the power of the supreme wisdom by first unlocking the rusty and poisonous locks that we have to deal with within ourselves. So then we'll have a better way of dealing with how we utilize the supreme wisdom in helping our people. So I'm saying these things and touching on these things to answer Brother Joshua's question, that when it comes to young people, you have to recognize that those of us who are still breathing and we're still involved in the mission of the liberation and the resurrection of ourselves, our family, and our people, we have technology that it took some time for us to get access to. And we have scars, we're still healing. However, we can now point out that there's processes that you can engage in today on smoking something that might be laced with fentanyl. You ain't got to gamble with popping some pills that you don't know what the hell they done put in that cocktail of ecstasy or whatever. And so now you gambling with something that could bust your heart. And now you're not here anymore because you're trying to escape your pain. You're trying to escape whatever it is that's troubling you. So I'm putting this out here like that because we still have way too many of us who we don't know, how to get out of our depression and our frustration. And so suicide or those things that lead to suicide, we're involved in it. A lot of young people are self-mutilating. They're cutting themselves on their wrists. And we as parents, we find these things out. And then the question becomes, well, how do we deal with this? Because if we don't deal with this, it can get worse. So we have to find effective ways. Yeah, it will get worse if you just let it just be. So we have to recognize that, hey, the same things that we dealt with as teenagers, they haven't gone anywhere. The only thing that has changed is technology. We didn't have internet in the way that they have it now. We didn't have YouTube and all those kind of things. We didn't have Google and AI. However, we had a need to know when we were teenagers. We were curious as young people. We were insecure, and some of us have gotten older and we still dealing with some of the same issues we had as teenagers. We're going through the Peter Pan syndrome, and I didn't just make that up. If you want to look up the Peter Pan syndrome, look it up, because that's a real identifiable syndrome where you get people in their 30 and 40, they're 30, 40 years of age, but they're still operating like they're 17, 18 years of age.
Yes, sir.
So I'll say this lastly, that the young people that may watch this, don't be afraid that you're hearing such honesty, because there's many things that did not have to be said on this show, but it's being said on this show because we love you and because we know that the deliberative dialogue that that needs to become more of a institutionalized practice, whether it's in the mosque or outside the mosque, in your home, in your schools. It's a process of us implementing these practices that have been put in front of us to help us heal the wounds, to help us heal a broken heart. Because the Honorable Brother Minister Louis Farrakhan puts the information out there, puts the inspiration out there. However, it takes those of us who are courageous enough to implement these things so that they become living practices and not just something that we can clap and say, hey, go ahead, minister, teach. But then we go back to business as usual and we don't implement those things. It's going to take many of us who are courageous enough to say we must implement it. I'll put this out here lastly also. When it comes to the abuse, the sexual abuse, the molestation, the things that we have gone through. I've gone through things as a child where it was females in my family, that affected me, and there's a principle called the victim villain syndrome, where you may have been victimized with something, and if it's not cleared up, then you become the villain of somebody else because you're practicing what was done unto you. And so we're, from a spiritual perspective, we say, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. Mm-hmm. However, if you were dealt with injustice or you were dealt with abuse and you just think this is just the way it is, then you will, as a child or a teenager, you may just do the same thing to somebody else because whatever was done you wasn't cleared up. So I think that when we were told in that lecture that we must become more scientific, for those who haven't seen it, you should go watch the April 7th, 1993 message regarding the causes of suicide and homosexuality. We got to become more scientific. He said 30 years ago. Well, there's some things that our brother, Dr. Wesley Muhammad, put out there that most definitely get to the core of some things when it comes to dealing with the masculinity and the manhood and dealing with those chemicals as well as cultural or anti-cultural things that are put out there to induce us in many different ways, physiologically and psychologically. But we have modern technology, and I know, we're going to wrap this up, but there's a lot that we could talk about, and maybe we need to come back just deal with the solutions, because that's what we're involved in, whether it's with hip hop detox and holistic human development, the work that Brother Amzi has been doing for years on many different levels, and some others where we're dealing with the trauma-informed practices. We're dealing with how to help us to evolve our emotional states so we go from a crisis condition to one where we have more balance. This is the work that we're involved in. However, we need more people to be involved in the work, because this can't be just theoretical, over the rostral conversation. This has to become clinical. It has to become practical, programmatic, so that people can understand how they can get involved in it. And some of us, again, I applaud you. You are diagnetic auditors. You are engaged in mental health. You are engaged in the nutritional aspect of it and other aspects of it, so that you can help people find balance in a world that's so imbalanced. So I'll just put it like that yes, those are some of the things that I hope young people can gravitate towards and engage in. And if you got some questions, please don't hesitate to ask us questions. You can find me, Amzi, Brother Marvin, all over the internet.
Yes, sir.
Praise be to Allah. Yes, sir. And inshallah, because we went 2 hours. I don't want to, I'm saying, we want to respect everyone's time. But a part two, hopefully, Allah willing, back the same panel. This is powerful. We'll work the details offline. But Brother Captain Waleed was watching. He sends the greetings. Brother Yahya sends the greetings. People saying teach.
Love you, Brother Waleed.
Brother Maurice said,
Brother Waleed.
Part. When we were better, we had to do better. Once again, Brother Yahya, Brother Maurice, Brother Craig Conwell says, teach, beloved, and then Brother Yahya, and more people saying, bear witnesses. Naima says, all praises to Allah. Can't wait to put this on YouTube. I want to thank Brother Enoch, Brother Amzi, and of course, Brother Marvin. All three of you have done a phenomenal job this evening. I appreciate it. We appreciate it. But a part two, because we got to talk about marriage, relationships, fatherhood. There's so many more topics that we can have. This gives me energy, gives me life. I got to get up super early tomorrow for work, but y'all motivated me today. So I'm very motivated. All praises to Allah. Thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule, being transparent, and inspired. This is Joshua Leonard Muhammad signing off for the People's Podcast. Assalamu alaikum, sirs.
Wa alaikum salam,
my brother.
Brother Joshua.
Thank you all for watching. Love you more, sir.
Like.